All right, let's start with something that gets right to the core of this. Have you ever had a moment in your life where everything felt like chaos, like nothing made sense, and you were stuck in this cycle of questioning why things were happening the way they were? But then, weeks, months, maybe even years later, you looked back and realized everything fell perfectly into place. Like the good, the bad, the random, they all connected like puzzle pieces. You thought you were lost, but somehow it all worked out. Why is that? Is it just luck or coincidence? Or is it possible that something knew the path you were on even before you did? This video is about exploring 3 clues that suggest God doesn't just exist, but that He sees your future before you do. This isn't about blind belief or forcing ideas. It's about looking at life, reality, and even the deepest parts of yourself and asking if there's more going on here than randomness. And as we break these clues down, I want you to stay with me, because some of this might challenge the way you think. Or maybe it might confirm something you've always felt, but couldn't quite put into words. Here's the first clue. When life's coincidences are too perfect to ignore. Let's talk about timing. Timing is one of those things that makes or breaks everything in life. Think about it: the people you meet, the opportunities you get, even the things that go wrong, so much of it comes down to timing. But timing is also something you can't control. You can't decide when you're born, where you're born, who your family is, or even when certain situations show up in your life. And yet, timing can feel way too perfect sometimes. Let me give you an example. Have you ever been in a situation where you were desperate for something, an answer, a solution, or even just a sign that things were going to be okay, and out of nowhere, something happened that gave you exactly what you needed? Maybe you ran into someone who gave you advice that changed everything. Or you found yourself in the right place at the right time for an opportunity that seemed impossible. And you can't explain it because it feels too random to be something you planned yourself.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more topics you love.
Now, here's the thing: if we're just products of chance, if life is just this random series of events with no deeper meaning, then why do so many of these moments feel intentional? Why do they feel like they were set up for us? You might say, well, that's just coincidence, and sure, some things are coincidences. But if you really think about your life, how many of these coincidences have had a lasting impact on your future? Could there be a point where the coincidences stop being coincidences and start being clues? Here's a question for you. If someone told you that all the most important moments in your life, the ones that shaped you, challenged you, or changed you, were part of a bigger plan, would you believe them? Or would you write it off as wishful thinking? Let's take this deeper. Imagine someone who's putting together a puzzle. They see the whole picture before it's complete, right? They know where every piece goes, even though you, looking at it from the outside, can only see a mess of pieces. What if your life is like that? What if God sees the whole picture before you do? What if He knows exactly where each piece goes, even when it doesn't make sense to you at the moment? Here's something wild to think about. What if the timing of your life isn't random at all? What if every single thing, every delay, every closed door, every unexpected twist wasn't a mistake, but part of a bigger plan that you just can't see yet? And I know, sometimes it's hard to believe that, especially when things feel like they're falling apart. But let me ask you this: how many times have you looked back on something you thought was a disaster and realized it was actually setting you up for something better? How many times have you thought, if that hadn't happened exactly the way it did, I wouldn't be where I am now? Let's be real. If you really stop and think about it, doesn't it feel like there's something or someone who's been guiding your steps all along? Someone who sees the future before you do and is working behind the scenes to make sure you're exactly where you need to be, even if you don't understand it at the moment. And if that's true, if God really does see your future before you do, then what does that mean for how you live your life? How does that change the way you see the challenges you're facing right now? That's the first clue. Timing isn't random. It's too perfect, too precise, and too personal to ignore. The power of purpose: why your life is too meaningful to be an accident. All right, let's take it deeper. I want you to think about something. Have you ever stopped and asked yourself, why am I here? Not just in the general sense of why humans exist or what the meaning of life is, but you specifically, why you are here. Why do you have the personality you have? Why were you born in the time, place, and circumstances you were? Why do you have certain dreams, talents, or even struggles that no one else has in quite the same way? This is the second clue that proves God sees your future before you do. It's the undeniable fact that your life carries purpose, and purpose is powerful. It's not something random. It's not something shallow. It's something deep, unshakable, and unique to you. Let's break it down. Have you ever noticed how, even from a young age, you're drawn to certain things? Maybe you've always been creative, or maybe you've always had a knack for helping other people. Maybe you're naturally a leader, or maybe you've always been the one who notices the details no one else sees. These aren't just quirks or personality traits, they're pieces of something much bigger. They're clues to your purpose. But here's the thing: purpose isn't always obvious. Sometimes it's hidden under layers of fear, doubt, or even pain. Think about it. How many people go through life feeling like they're just surviving, like they're just going through the motions because they've lost sight of their purpose? Or maybe they never discovered it in the first place. And yet, deep down, there's this nagging feeling that they were made for more. Do you feel that? That sense that your life isn't just a string of random events, but that there's something you're here to do? If you felt that even for a moment, then you've tapped into something powerful. Now, let's take this further. If your life has purpose, then where did that purpose come from? Did you just randomly decide it for yourself? Or could it be that the one who created you already knew your purpose before you were even born? Let's get real for a second. Think about how intricate life is. Your body alone is a masterpiece of design. Your heart beats without you having to tell it to. Your brain processes millions of bits of information every second, and your DNA is a literal code that makes you unique. And that's just your physical body. What about your mind, your emotions, your creativity, your ability to love? None of that is random. None of it is accidental. So here's the question: if you're this carefully designed, doesn't it make sense that your life itself is just as carefully designed? That your purpose was set in motion long before you even realized it. And here's where it gets really interesting. Purpose doesn't just exist in the good times. It's not just about the moments when everything is going great and you feel on top of the world. Purpose is often found in the hard times, the struggles, the setbacks, the moments when you're questioning everything. Think about some of the most inspiring people in the world. How many of them found their purpose through pain? How many of them went through something so difficult, so heartbreaking, that it could have destroyed them, but instead, it became the very thing that gave their life meaning? If you've ever been through something hard, and let's be honest, we all have, then here's a question for you. What if that struggle wasn't just something to get through? What if it was part of your purpose? What if it was shaping you into the person you're meant to be, even if it doesn't make sense right now? Here's a story to think about. There's this concept in Japanese culture called kintsugi. It's the art of repairing broken pottery by filling the cracks with gold. The idea is that the broken pieces aren't something to hide, they're something to highlight. They become part of the story, part of the beauty. What if your life is like that? What if the cracks, the broken parts, the things you wish you could erase, what if those are the very things that make your life meaningful? And here's where God comes in. If He sees your future before you do, then He doesn't just see your successes. He sees your struggles too, and He doesn't waste them. He doesn't let them happen for no reason. Instead, He uses them to shape your purpose, to guide you toward the person you're meant to become. Let's get practical for a second. If you believe your life has purpose, then how does that change the way you live? How does that change the way you approach your struggles, your decisions, your relationships? If you knew, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that everything in your life was leading you towards something meaningful, would you live differently? Would you stop seeing obstacles as roadblocks and start seeing them as part of the process? Here's a challenge for you. Start paying attention to the things in your life that feel purposeful. The things that light you up, the things that challenge you, the things that keep coming up no matter how much you try to avoid them. What if those are clues? What if they're pointing you toward the future God already sees for you? And here's the crazy part, your purpose isn't just about you. It's about the people you're meant to impact, the lives you're meant to touch, the difference you're meant to make in the world. It's bigger than you, and that's the beauty of it. So if you've ever wondered why you're here, or if your life really matters, let me tell you this, it does. You're not an accident. You're not random. You're here for a reason. And the one who created you sees that reason, even if you don't fully see it yet. How God's care for you proves He knows where you're headed. Let's get into the third and final clue. This one cuts straight to the heart. Love. Not the cliché, surface-level kind of love we hear about in movies or songs, but something much deeper. A love that feels personal, intentional, and unshakable. A love that sometimes shows up in unexpected ways, but when you really start to recognize it, you realize it's been there all along. Let me ask you something. Have you ever wondered why love is such a driving force in your life? I mean, think about it. How much of what we do as humans revolves around love? We crave it. We fight for it. We're devastated when we lose it. It shapes our relationships, our decisions, even our sense of identity. But here's the kicker. Love is not something you can touch or measure. It's not something you can hold in your hand or break down scientifically. And yet, it's one of the most real and powerful experiences we have. Why is that? Why does love feel so essential, so foundational to who we are? Here's the clue. The existence of love is evidence that there's more to life than what we can see, touch, or measure. It's evidence of something bigger than just molecules in biology. It's evidence of a God who not only created you, but loves you and cares about your future. Now, I know that might sound abstract, so let's break it down. Have you ever been through a moment in your life where you felt completely unlovable? Maybe you made a mistake, or you felt like you didn't measure up, or you were going through something so painful that you started to believe no one could really care about you. But then, out of nowhere, someone showed up. Maybe it was a friend who called you at the exact moment you needed to hear their voice. Maybe it was a stranger who offered you kindness when you least expected it. Maybe it was just this quiet, overwhelming sense that you weren't alone, even when it felt like the world was falling apart. Where does that come from? How do you explain love that shows up even when you feel like you don't deserve it? Let's take this even further. Think about the way love works in your closest relationships, whether it's with a partner, a parent, a child, or a friend. Real love isn't just about feelings, it's about action. It's about showing up when it's hard, forgiving when it's not easy, and giving even when there's nothing in it for you. Where does that kind of love come from? It's not something we're born knowing how to do. It's something that feels like it's been written into the very fabric of who we are. Here's the question: what if that love didn't just come from us? What if it's a reflection of the one who created us? What if God's love for you is the original source of all the love you've ever experienced or given? Here's the wild part: God's love isn't just some abstract, feel-good idea. It's practical, it's active. It shows up in the details of your life in ways you might not even realize. Think about this: have you ever been in a situation where things were falling apart, but somehow you had just enough strength to get through it? Or where you didn't know how you were going to make it, but the right door opened at just the right time? Or where you were so close to giving up, but something or someone gave you a reason to keep going? What if those moments weren't coincidences? What if they were signs that God sees your future, even when you can't? What if they were His way of saying, "I'm here. I see you. I've got you"? And here's where it gets even more personal. God's love isn't just about the big, dramatic moments. It's in the little things, too. The sunrise that reminds you of a fresh start. The unexpected laughter that breaks through your sadness. The feeling you get when someone truly listens to you. These aren't just random moments, they're reminders that you're seen, known, and loved. But here's the thing: love isn't always easy to recognize, especially when life gets hard. When you're in the middle of pain, it's so easy to feel abandoned or forgotten. You might even question if God really cares, or if He's even there at all. So let's get really honest for a second. If God loves you, why does He allow you to go through hard times? Why doesn't He just step in and fix everything? Here's a tough but powerful truth: love doesn't always look like giving us what we want in the moment. Sometimes, love is about giving us what we need, even if it's not what we would have chosen for ourselves. Think about it this way: if you truly believe God sees your future before you do, then He's not just looking at your present struggles. He's looking at the person you're becoming. He's looking at the bigger picture of your life, the one you can't see yet. And sometimes, that means allowing you to go through things that will shape you, strengthen you, and prepare you for what's ahead. It's not easy. It's not always what we want, but it's love. Here's another question for you: if you knew that every single thing in your life, the good, the bad, the painful, the joyful, was being used by God to create something beautiful, how would that change the way you see your life? How would that change the way you face your challenges? There's this verse in the Bible that says, "We know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose." Think about that. All things. Not just the good things, not just the easy things, all things. So here's the final takeaway: the love you've experienced in your life, no matter how big or small, is a clue. It's evidence of a God who cares about you deeply, who sees your future before you do, and who is working in ways you might not even realize to guide you toward it. This isn't just about believing in God because it sounds nice. It's about looking at your life and realizing that the evidence has been there all along through the timing of events, the sense of purpose you carry, and the love that surrounds you even in the hardest moments. So I'll leave you with this: if God really does see your future before you do, and if He's with you every step of the way, then what's holding you back from trusting Him with your life? What if the thing you're holding onto the tightest, the fear, the doubt, the need to control, is the very thing that's keeping you from stepping into the future He's already prepared for you? Your life isn't random. It's not an accident. It's a masterpiece in progress, and the one who created it sees the whole picture, even when you don't. And that's the ultimate proof. Timing, purpose, and love all point to this undeniable truth: God sees your future before you do.